So the answer is don't manage the devices.
Oh, zing! But hey, so let me ask you
Wow.
this. So, if we evolve, so right now, okay, when we're talking about management of like devices or desktops, right? There's MDM, for mobile device management, and then there's desktop management, which is, as Kevin was mentioning, the Landesk and BigFix, Altiris, all these kinds of companies. If we move to where Windows becomes this more locked Windows, like it's Windows on ARM or the Metro with Windows Store only and that kind of stuff.
The isolated applications.
Right, so we don't need the traditional desktop management. Two questions come to mind. One, does that mean that these MDM vendors grow to expand? Well, I think the answer is yes, because right now they're going to do Android and they're doing iOS, and some of them do BlackBerry. I'm sure they're going to throw Windows on ARM, which is essentially Windows 8 Mobile is on the same platform, by the way. So that goes the same way. So the question to you, Jack, is all these MDM vendors you're talking to, you're still working on your thing. You're planning on doing this Briveform presentation, yeah?
Yeah.
All these vendors you talk to, do any of them do anything now for traditional desktops? Are there any of the big names that we know? Like, does Microsoft do MDM, or does like Symantec? Symantec has MDM, right? Haven't gotten that far yet.
Haven't
They
gotten
have Altiris, right? Altiris has it, right?
For traditional desktops, but does
but we're for mobile.
Oh,
And the second question is, what does Microsoft do? So Microsoft, I mean, they've got System Center, and I wonder if System Center now expands, because I know System Center, they just started scratching the surface with it being able to do some very basic things with iOS and Android, or maybe it's the 12 version. I think that's not this. I don't know if that's out yet, but I mean, it's going to be one thing, right? Like, you're just going to have device management, and Microsoft needs to get into the MDM game too. Then,
yeah, and the System Center, it's on my list of things to check out. But my first initial push for this effort was to look at the versions of these products that support actual BYOD, so that lean towards more data and application management, and that fundamentally managing the device is not part of their central mission. So the actual management of corporate devices, maybe that's Briveform session part 2.
yeah, Briveform Chicago.
Because right now it's the look at the devices that can actually accommodate BYOD in the way that most people would think of BYOD being, which is not locking down the entire device.
I'm really curious to see what the message is going to be at Microsoft Management Summit now, which I can't remember if it's in late March or early April or what. But last year they announced that they had some capabilities to manage devices, BlackBerries and iOS devices and things like that. And I feel like they're at least aware that this is a big deal. So by that announcement last year, so I'll be really interested to see what the message is there, or at MMS, and then of course with all the Windows 8 stuff, maybe we can actually get in front of people that are in the know and talk to them. I don't think there's going to be too many demos or anything like that, but maybe.
yeah. The correct MDM strategy, and if it comes from System Center and is tied to just Metro tablets, wow, you have another typical Microsoft lock-in. The correct one is got to be able to do things like encrypt a device so if somebody else finds it, and it doesn't have to just choose 10,000 passwords to get past the PIN. Has to be able to do a remote wipe. Has to be able to do a self explode. The device needs to implode if it doesn't talk back to the mothership in 90 days, 120 days, what have you. Those types of things, in addition to being able to update software and decide that you're going to be able to run the correct level of the applications. The other thing that Microsoft has an opportunity here is devices on your iOS right now, the ones that talk Bluetooth, make it very difficult for here in the United States for a federal government to buy, because Bluetooth isn't a secure communication channel. So your two-phase authentications, I use my RSA ID digitally, but all those guys that have to have a card, those common access cards the federal government use, those currently aren't being implemented on iPads or your your opportunity there is if you can figure out a way to have the device manufacturers fall in love with you as well.
And I guess that's going to be a big, like, Good does something. They've got a version, but is that just for BlackBerry or?
I was just thinking about that, and the answer is I don't remember offhand, and I haven't seen exactly because
I mean, it's a very
because
different world. And
yeah,
it's not our world.
yeah, but they do mention common access card capabilities.
So we're coming up on just a couple minutes left in our hour, and there's a couple things I want to ask real quick. Kevin, now, so you've obviously, I could have, I don't have to wait till you leave VMware for this, but I'm just curious. I wrote an article a month or two ago about VMware's own internal VMware View usage, and I'm curious, while you were at VMware, so they say that everyone within VMware has a View desktop available, so they've got 10,000 seat build, but the only 1/3 of them use it as their primary desktop. So, Kevin, when you were at VMware, did you use VMware View on a regular basis?
All right. Thanks for catching me off guard there. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think you outed me. I was the guy who used it to get on the corporate network so I could print out my boarding pass.
Oh, that was you.
Because if I didn't upgrade to first class, I wanted the free drink, and you can only get that when you print your boarding pass out. But I'm not the use case for it, though. So if you want to have another conversation about why or why not you want to use virtual desktops, and I'm definitely not the use case for it. It is true. We all had. I dog-fooded View prior to it being on there, and it made a lot of sense in some instances. The truth is, VMware doesn't have any corporate apps that I really needed. All the corporate apps that I needed were SaaS apps.
Oh yeah. All right. So that's
now. Did I use our Horizon product? Yes, but I don't have any Windows apps that I needed to use.
Yeah. So we should continue this conversation on a different on a later show. I want to ask. So Jack, you have been using a BlackBerry tablet for approximately 45 minutes. Give us what's your first 30 seconds of thoughts on this thing?
Well, one of my first thoughts was it automatically played through a demo, and I'm like, I have to sit through a demo, but then it told me that the bezel is touch sensitive, so you can like pull things into the field. So that's kind of cool. I wrote a while ago in some article or another that why should it matter that much, because like Facebook on BlackBerry tablet or Evernote on BlackBerry tablet is going to be the same as Evernote on iPad and TweetDeck for BlackBerry. So who cares? So we'll see whether or not I eat my words on that.
All right. Well, on that note, we are out of time for this week. So Kevin, thank you so much for calling in and for being that guy in your car. Gabe, as always.
I have 3 minutes left on my laptop. This is perfect.
Perfect. Gabe, thank you. Jack, thank you. All of you, thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week.